enjoy the finer things in life. Piano, cats, and Mr. November wine. Produced locally in Struthers, Ohio. Look them up at facebook.com/Mr. November. Coming in an assortment of flavors including, but not limited to, pomegranate, blueberry, and sangria. Oh yeah. Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome to another segment of The Raw Alternative, coming at you from DESKPOPmedia. Our next guest has his fingerprints across all aspects of both the creative scene and the community. From his tenure from such notable musical acts as the Sweet D's, User Sets Mode, and more recently Moonstation Burning and White Rican, to a little entrepreneurial effort you may have heard of by the name of Youngstown Hates You. The Raw Alternative welcomes Justin Arroyo. Thank you so much for being here, man.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me, for sure.
Absolutely. So, you're a man of many different projects. Talk to us a little bit about White Rican, your most recent musical endeavor.
I guess it started off as like a solo thing. You know, I've been threatening to put out solo music for years now. You know, I've always written things that I didn't take to other projects I was in because, you know, I don't want to leave them behind, you know, because nothing's forever. And then the pandemic happened, and I really just wanted to record a record or make music with my friend Alan Williams, who's an amazing drummer who I played with. You know, we just booked studio time and no rehearsal, no nothing, just a couple riff ideas, and recorded four or five songs in the studio one day.
Oh, so this project is pretty reliant on improvisation, would you say?
No. Well, the writing aspect of it would be relied on improvisation, but you know, once we boil the improv down to like an actual, like they're kind of like 3-minute like pop songs, I guess, you know, but not pop music.
Right.
But I do like to keep that fly by the seat of your pants, especially if you're playing with people on Alan's caliber, and Catherine O'Neill, who plays violin on the project right now, you know, some of the best players around, you know, so I'm not one to tell somebody that is like that what to do, you know.
So, I mean, you've been in at a number of projects over the years. Is this songwriting approach, would you say, a little more fresh?
Yeah, I think so. I think it kind of goes back to, you know, being young and just being in a room with your friends, you know, before you really even know how to play your instruments, and you kind of just see what happens. The older you get and how you mature as a songwriter, you maybe start to hear like, you know, full songs, and you have a specific idea how you want things to go. You know, what's different about White Rican is that the main instrument is the bass. So just having that, you know, as the main instrument, it's going to be different, you know.
There's obviously been projects one could think of that come to mind where, you know, a bassist or a drummer leads that project. But in rock music as a whole, it's still kind of uncommon. You know, usually it begins with the guitar, or the riff, or,
right.
you know, possibly
Yeah, and that's the thing about,
aspect.
like, you know, your heaviest song, you know, starts off as a singer-songwriter type song. You know what I mean? Traditionally in rock music, you know, you have an acoustic guitar, you know, you got this chord progression, you have some lyrics. You know, this is very much different than that.
Another project I'd like you to shed some light on, Massacred.
Oh, Massacred.
Yeah.
You know, that's more of a movement, I guess, you know, and it speaks to our world's problem with racism and consumption and, you know, all that's, it's basically kind of like you're a slave to credit, you're a slave to your possessions, you're a slave to your job, you know, and that's kind of, my friend Sean Crum came up with that term, who's an amazing painter, Massacred. Like this pandemic kind of derailed everything. We were ramping up to do some things, whether that, be a charity or, donating things to, at-risk youth or whatever. It just doesn't really need to be any one thing.
When I think of individuals who are part of the music scene or part of the art scene, but take it to the next level, I mean, you come to mind because you're very involved in the community. I mean, from your line of work, how much you would want to discuss with that with the Purple Cat and whatnot. How important is the local community to you as a person?
Youngstown to the bone, I've always thought of Youngstown as a very artistic, a very cool place, and everything's here for you if you want it, especially in the day of the internet. You don't really need to live in LA or New York to get things done. My work with the Purple Cat and Isle, I was friends with the owner for a long time, and we talked about over the years me coming to work, and I just never did. I didn't know if I could do the work. And then I'm surrounded, like my dad's a mental health professional. I'm surrounded by people that do good, and make difference. So I just at some point decided I wanted to be one of those people, Excuse me. It's not even like a job, man. It's like being paid to hang out with your friends. It's worthwhile work. It's the only job I've ever had that I actually like.
What would you say if you had to give any suggestions toward, younger artists, younger musicians who may want to get involved or just trying to, make the community a more livable and happy place for everybody and for the art scenes to flourish?
I guess I would have a lot of suggestions, but my main suggestion is to just be honest, whether you're an artist or a musician or whatever you're doing, as long as you're doing it for honest reasons, I think that you're doing good. Just do it. Like you want to help, you want to volunteer, you find it, man. Like we all have this like amazing like pocket computer. Things are out there that you can get involved with, or start your own thing.
How important is individuality?
Most true artists can smell bullshit a mile away. A true artist, if that's what you are and that's what you're born to be, then that should be your personality. Like you see a Basquiat, it's a Basquiat. You hear like two notes of Les Claypool, and it's Les Claypool. I think that's the goal.
Something that you've started that's really become a phenomenon around here, Youngstown Hates You.
Oh, yeah.
It's really taken on just such a life here now, and it's really become like part of our cultural zeitgeist.
Right.
Would you mind talking a little bit about how that became an initial idea and what you have going on with it now?
My whole life, people have been complaining about Youngstown, like it sucks. The crime, there's nothing to do, or even people that have never been here, what they've seen on the news, whatever. And I always just was, like you don't gotta live here, like no one's forcing you, like if it's economic, there's definitely cheaper places in the country to live, you can live in a holler in West Virginia. I was kicking around ideas of a saying, and one of the first working titles was Youngstown's Not Dead, like a play on Punk's Not Dead, and I was like, that's kind of corny, And then my friend Jay Brundage posted this like throwback picture. He had this snapback on, hand-drawn, was the state of Ohio, and it said, Ohio hates you. And I was like, that's fucking it, man. So I called him, and I was like, hey, man, you mind if I steal that? And he's like, yeah, go ahead, So I did. It originally started as like a graffiti thing I was doing, and nobody knew it was me. Somebody figured it out, and so I started making T-shirts and shit. It just took off, and organically grew.
Kind of like this Banksy guerrilla graffiti.
Right, yeah. But I didn't make any millions. It's Youngstown's, you know, like, and a lot of people in the beginning got the wrong idea because it has the word hate in it. Like, it's very much pro Youngstown. You don't like us, we don't like you either. You know, like, if you think about it, you know, think about, like, say some band comes to town and they're like a great band. What's every Youngstown musician do? You know, you stand there and, you know, and you're like, prove it to me, motherfucker. And that's kind of like the
true.
Youngstown attitude. Like, you know, we don't like you. You don't like us. We don't like you. Fuck out of here. You know, excuse my language. The best T-shirt I ever sold was a friend of mine lived in Brooklyn, and the elevator operator to his building that he worked in saw his shirt, and he was like this grizzled old, like, Italian guy, tough guy, you know. His name was like Paulie or, you know, something like that, you know. And he was like, oh man, I drove through Youngstown one time, stopped to get gas, never been so scared in my life, you know. And so you know, my buddy told me that story, and I you know, I was like, this guy needs a T-shirt, you know. Just search Youngstown Hates You on Instagram or Facebook. I sell everything personally. There's no website. If you bought it from me, you're getting it from me. You know, you could also get that stuff at Artistic Dermographics tattoo shop in Boardman. So the plan with White Rican is to record maybe like 4 or 5 more songs, put out a vinyl, do shows,
Nice.
You know, and just, you know, White Rican will be like my forever project, you know.
You may hate us, but we love you.
Thanks for having me, Rick and Jesse. This is awesome.